What is going on, guys? I'm Avni and welcome to another video. You already know why you clicked here, so let's get into it. Just a quick disclaimer before we start. This is not an install tutorial on how to install the drift mod. So all the necessary information and files that you need you will find on their Discord, which I'll be linking down below. But if the link doesn't work for some reason, you can just type out the name of their server and you should be able to find it. Also, Digital Garage just released a install tutorial on how to install the mod if you're playing the game on Steam. I'll also have that linked down below. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. So the first thing we're gonna do is just buy a new car. So buy a new stock car. So I know some of you people like drifting stock cars. I do too, and with this mod it works surprisingly well. Alright, so I'm just gonna get a stock car and then we'll just go out in the open world and go on from there. So one thing I recommend is if you want to drift a stock car, one thing I recommend is definitely start with A+. I mean, make sure at least you get A+, so you have at least some power, going through the wheels. So, I mean, you can drift lower class. I'm not saying you can't. It's just that's what I recommend doing. Alright, so if you installed this mod properly, or you didn't, just kidding, you should be greeted with this live tuning or handling tuning menu, however you want to call it. So the first thing I want to talk about is traction control. Obviously you want it off, so currently it's on. It says gas or brake tap equals on, so we're just going to turn it off. Brake bias, now this is something I never bothered about because I never really used brakes with this mod, so yeah. Alright, steering sensitivity, this is pretty self-explanatory. This is your analog stick input, alright? So more responsive, less your analog stick basically becomes less responsive. So the steering with this mod is weird, alright? So I genuinely like to keep this above the middle, or at least in the middle. I mean, don't go all the way low because you want to have some sort of responsiveness when you try to adjust or switch the angle, and I think that's it for the steering sensitivity. Like, just don't make sure you don't go all the way here because it's alright, so I'm just gonna leave it in the middle for now. Now, self-steer or self-counter-steer, I wish they called it self-counter-steer because that's what basically this is. So this is the self-counter-steer of your car. So in a racing game, I don't know, I'll just take Payback, Heat for example, I don't know. When you drift, you start drifting, you start sliding on the side, you hold the analog stick on the opposite side of the side that your car is sliding on, and I think that's called counter steering, right? So you're trying to counter steer, so to hold the drift. So what basically this does is just holds the drift for you. So it's basically a self counter steer. So let me show you what I mean right now. You should be able to see my inputs on the screen, alright? So I'm just gonna go. I usually drift in 4th gear. Alright, so just gas. Watch, just gas, gas, gas. Now I'm making adjustments, alright, but I'm not holding the analog stick all the way through the drift, alright? I'm making adjustments and letting go. You see? I hope you can see my inputs on the screen. See? I'm not counter steering. Alright? So yeah, that's what this basically does, and that's what this mod is about. I mean, it also... Can you slide like this with a stock game? I don't think so. So, huge thank you to this guy for also not locking this mod behind a paywall like some modders do. Shout out to Hayeduce. I hope I'm saying that right. Alright, so let me try to explain something about this now. So your self-steer or self-counter-steer, how I like to call it. So basically, it says in the description, I don't know how much YouTube compression is gonna ruin this video. For beginners, it's recommended to use fast self-steer or self-counter-steer, alright? So yes, that is correct. I mean, everything above the middle is gonna be fine, alright? So if you use slower self-steer, I mean, I'm exaggerating, you're probably not gonna have it all the way down, but what tends to happen is you are way more prone on spinning out, and like just your car is just gonna do a full 360. And like if you try to change the drift direction in a tighter angle, for example, if there's a tight corner, you're drifting on the right, and then there's like a tight left you have to make, you are going to be more prone to spinning out if you use slower self-steer. So I'll try to demonstrate that right now. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it happen, but there you go. Alright. So yeah, you just see you're more prone to spinning out if you need to do like quick switchbacks. Alright, I'm not saying it's not possible, but there you go. There you go. You just have to be way more careful with your switchbacks if you use slower self-steer. There you go. Like, I just spun. Alright. That should have been a very easy corner, and I just spun. So basically that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, if you just let go of the gas and then counter steer, like change the direction of your drift and then grab it again, but there you go, you see, it might work, but I feel like if you use slower self-steer, you pretty much sometimes I kind of just have to wait for my car to like straighten out kinda before I can change the direction of the drift. Like, see, let go, and I still spun. So one thing that might help is actually downshifting. If there's a tight corner and you want to change direction, you can downshift, and that will help. But I really just like to keep it in the gear I am and just drift. So therefore, I use faster self-steer. I also find it that faster, I mean, pretty much everything above the middle should be fine. So I find that faster self-steer not actually just prevents you from spinning out. I mean, you can still spin out, but it's gonna be harder to spin out, alright? And it also helps you if you are drifting wider, like bigger corners. It helps you extend the drift more, I feel like, because it just see, it kind of makes your car travel further while it's still being sideways. So yeah. So genuinely you're going to be using faster, especially if you're starting out. I mean, just like it says in the description, you're going to be using faster self-steer. Alright. So like I said, I think that pretty much it. So basically you can see right here, see, see, I'm just gassing. I'm not counter steering with my analog stick. I'm making adjustments, but that's it. That's how this drift mod works. So you just make adjustments, see? So you don't have to hold the analog stick throughout the whole drift. You just make adjustments left, right. And obviously, if you upgrade your car, you might have a better time. I mean, you can adjust the handling slider towards drift or grip, and that might help you out. It can make the car slide way better or slide more, and more power. You're gonna be able to, you know, drift better or like longer corners and stuff like that. But for the live tuning, that's genuinely all you need to know. And I really find just faster self-steer to just work better. It just prevents you to spin out, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, call me a beginner, I guess, if you will, because that's just what it works for me. I mean, you can use slower self-steer, but if I found, I don't know, slower self-steer, maybe if you are doing like lower angle drift and you don't need that much, you know, you don't have like those tight angles left, right, snappy and stuff. So yeah, just genuinely, that's all you need to know. And also, different cars are going to behave differently. Obviously, this is a smaller, twitchier car. When I tried the Hellcat, that thing is heavy and it just slides. It slides very good even without any upgrades. So I think that pretty much sums up everything that I know, every tip that I can give you about this mod. So yeah, thank you for watching. Like, dislike if you didn't like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.